The guy spent 6 months abroad just a year ago. If we don't use enemy combatant for him, when are we going to use it? Don't we at least want to know more about what connections he has?
This man, in my view, should be designated as a potential enemy combatant, and we should be allowed to question him for intelligence gathering purposes to find out about future attacks and terrorist organizations that may exist that he has knowledge of, and that evidence cannot be used against him in trial. That evidence is used to protect us as a nation. Anytime we question him about his guilt or innocence, he's entitled to his Miranda rights and a lawyer. He is not eligible for military commission trial.
He will not be treated as an enemy combatant. We will prosecute this terrorist through our civilian system of justice. Under U.S. law, the United States citizens cannot be tried in military commissions. And it is important to remember that since 9/11, we have used the federal court system to convict and incarcerate hundreds of terrorists.
Now, in the aftermath of the Boston bombings, a series of sticky legal issues, like I said, have come up, and first among them, that debate between us there, how to treat the alleged terror suspect in custody. Should he be treated as an enemy combatant, like you heard some lawmakers or pundits say, or even as a foreign terrorist, or maybe just as an American citizen through the civilian court system? Dominic, you heard the different arguments there. How should he be tried?
Well, there's a politically correct answer, and then there's the hard answer.
Well, give me the hard one.
The hard answer is to hell with the rules, do what you got to do, and find out the answers. I think most Americans would say that. But the politically correct answer is, no matter how much we may disagree, he's a U.S. citizen.
That's not politically correct. That's called the Constitution.
Yeah, it is called the Constitution. And we can't just throw the Constitution out the window whenever we want to. I said there's a politically correct answer, and there's an answer from the heart.
Let me play for you guys an exchange between Senator Feinstein and also Peter King this past weekend on this very subject.
99% of the Muslims are outstanding Americans. The fact is, that's where the threat is coming from. When the FBI was after the Westies, they went to the Irish community. When they were after the Mafia, they went to the Italian community. If you know what threat is coming from a certain community, that's where you have to look.
With respect to whether we are doing enough in the Muslim community, I think we should take a look at that. But I don't think we need to go and develop some real disdain and hatred on television about it.
Andrew, we heard, I heard on, I think it was Fox or whatever, they were talking about why don't we even bug some mosques right now. Deal with that part first, and then we'll come back to what he is, what he should be treated as. He's an American citizen. Does he still, is he still afforded those rights after what he's accused of? But in terms of where the line is and isn't, we've debated on this show. Dominic mentioned the rafting trip, you know, mosques being under surveillance right now. If the argument is the overwhelming number of terror plots either planned or enacted have come from extremist Muslim groups, do you treat that population any differently?
No. No. First of all, you've got a lot of Muslim Americans, and let's not forget that those Americans, as American citizens, have rights. By the way, non-American citizens have rights too. But in the examples that Peter King was giving, he was talking about, well, you've got the Italian community and the Irish community. We did that mostly through outreach to those communities. Hey, we need your help on this, not bugging them, which is going to alienate a heck of a lot more people than it's going to bring into the fold in terms of the help that we get.
I don't know if certain criminal organizations would agree that it was just, hey, Italian Americans, help us out busting up the mob, you know.
I'm not talking about the cafe where Don Corleone was hanging out. I mean, we're talking about, you know, religious and social gathering sites. You don't bug them in the hopes of getting information and then hope to make them your friends as well. You catch more flies with honey than you do with, I don't know, a machine gun.
Let me make the question tougher, Richard. Apparently, an eyewitness, the person who was carjacked by these two brothers, said that he heard them speak in a foreign tongue, but he could have sworn that they said Manhattan. Okay, and people have extrapolated from that the planning may have gone beyond that, and certainly they're looking at whether or not, one of the things they want to find out from this person in custody is if they had anyone working with them and if they had any other targets beyond just Boston. Let's say there's a real discernible threat that this thing didn't have a period at the end of it. There was other sites that could be in imminent danger. Do you still say let them lawyer up, let us go through
I
didn't
say that in the first place.
No, I asked that.
It's not
Would you
about
still say?
There are the rules already take into account the need for swift and decisive action by law enforcement in the face of an imminent threat. It's not liberal, conservative. It's not lawyer up, not lawyer up. Those same rules, the Miranda rights, they specifically say there's a public safety exemption. This is a tempest in a teapot. This is Fox News creating a reality that doesn't exist anywhere else but on Fox News. The fact of the matter is law enforcement and the rules we have are competent to protect us and keep our civil liberties intact. We're doing just fine, thank you. Stop helping me.
Does he belong in a civilian court, or does he belong in a military tribunal? Even though this has been asked and answered by the White House, but what would you do?
No, I'm an attorney myself. What was said is correct. He's a U.S. citizen. Let's not blur the lines here. He deserves to be tried in a civilian court. As a matter of fact, Jay Carney was correct, the White House spokesperson. We've tried many terrorists, including the ones responsible for 9/11 and the '93 World Trade bombing in a civilian court here and got conviction. So it's definitely the place.
And those 93 suspects weren't American citizens, but they have rights the same way that everybody in this country has rights, whether they're Americans
I'm not going to go that far.
It's not just a matter.
I was just going to say they were tried in a civilian court also.
The system works. There's no legal basis for doing it any other way. Getting 35 seconds on a network news show is fine. It's not good law.
And let me just bring up one more fact, which is Newtown, 26 dead. Why isn't that terrorism? Why aren't we getting the same questions about whether that should be prosecuted as a terrorist activity? What about Columbine? What about Virginia Tech? Why aren't those even in the debate for whether we should?
Dead.
No, well, they're dead now. I mean,
they were dead before they ever saw the inside of a courtroom or
but those
stuff.
But those were terrorist activities also, and people who helped them get their weapons could have been charged.
Andrew's got a good idea, but a bad example.
Yeah, I mean, there was no guys to really try. All right, now I think we have unanimity on this one, and it's one of Dominic's favorites. Greg Ball, the New York State lawmaker who's never found an opportunity to get some attention, let's just say, tweeted this in the aftermath of the tragedy and after the apprehension of the person in custody now. So he says, and I quote here, "So scumbag number 2 in custody, who wouldn't use torture on this punk to save more lives?" And when given an opportunity to clarify his remarks, he doubled down. Now, I got enough people at the table to say, stop, he's an idiot, I grant that. However, if we polled this nationally, what do you think the American public would say?
I think they would agree that if it's going to save lives, some form of torture would be appropriate.
It doesn't work.
Well,
I didn't ask that question. I asked, do you think the public would support Ball more than the 5 of us?
I don't in the end.
Let me ask you.
I mean, there'd be enough to make you scared, but not a majority.
Let me answer that question with a question. What do you think the public's reaction would be if we took the suspect and just let him loose in Times Square and told everybody he's right there, he's going to be there at 3 o'clock?
We just took him out and shot him.
That's why we don't do these things.
We agree.
Remember the victims. That's all I'm saying. Remember the people in Boston.
What happened to you?
No, I mean, remember the people that have lost limbs.
You think
remember
we don't?
that 8-year-old boy.
You think we don't?
Remember that Chinese graduate student.
You don't honor
Just
the
remember,
memory of innocent victims by reconstructing the American system.
Your question was the heart of the American people, their sentiment right now, and that's what my answer implied.
But we all agree, the 5 of us, I'm helping here, Dominic, that we're not advocating torture.
No,
Thank you.
no,
All right.
no.
Yes.
No, I wouldn't have
Killing,
it.
yes, torture, no? There's a line to be drawn.
All right. We go to a break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk about how this all plays into the political week ahead. And trust me here, if some of these unanswered questions come back with some inconvenient truths, does the conversation about guns, or immigration for that matter, change at all in the aftermath of that? We're going to get into both of those questions after this.